Hi everybody, this is Nima Hussein from Sheridan International Office. I have today with me Elena Sheikh, who's my colleague and International Student Coordinator. Thank you all for coming to today's presentation. Is on arrival and registration. There are a lot of things ahead for you to do in the next couple of weeks, and Elena will go over as much as possible all that you should be doing from today till the day you arrive. And I encourage you throughout the presentation to just go ahead and type your questions. Only we can see them, and we'll do our best to answer them. Over to you, Elena.
Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you again for joining us. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever you are. I'm very excited to provide you with this information, as I hope that this will make your transition to Sheridan as well as to Canada a smooth one. So today we'll cover a number of topics, but if you feel that there's a topic that you would like to have us go over, please feel free to again ask any questions online. One of the major stressors, I would say, for students before they come to Canada would be, what do I actually bring with me for my trip to Canada? What do I bring so that I can be successful as a student? Well, the most important thing is to ensure that you have the appropriate documentation with you, which means obviously your valid passport. So without the passport, you won't be able to travel, so ensure that you have a valid passport that has a future expiry date, and it has a valid temporary resident visa if it's applicable for your country of citizenship. You also need to ensure that you have your study permit approval letter. So a letter that states, congratulations, you've been approved to study in Canada for this duration of time. You will also need to ensure that you bring your letter of acceptance from Sheridan, and I also recommend bringing a few copies just in case. Evidence of financial support. So whatever financial support you were able to provide in your application for your study permit, please ensure that you have it with you to present to Canada Border Services agent. List of items that you may be shipping separately, so if 2 suitcases is not enough for you and you're bringing some other articles, whether it's clothing, electronics, whatever the case may be, please ensure that you have a list of items with you so that you can present it to the Border Services agent. Credit cards. So if you have an international credit card that you would like to be able to use in Canada, please be sure to bring it with you. And it's always a great idea to bring some Canadian currency. So when you arrive at the airport, as you know, we have a buggy that has, I believe, a $2 coin that you will need to put in order to be able to get your luggage across to a taxi, to a cab, or a bus, if that's applicable. If you have an international driver's license and you're planning to do any driving in Canada, it's certainly highly recommended that you bring it with you so that you are able to transition smoothly to a Canadian driving license once you're here. If you have an international student identity card, it's also a great idea to apply for one. Now, if you have questions on how to apply for one, the easiest way would be to just put it into a web search, International Student Identification Card, and you will be able to find locations where you can find it in your home country. Now, if you don't have one, please do not worry. Once you arrive to Sheridan, you'll be able to get your Sheridan ID card so that you will be able to take advantage of all of the student discounts, for example, for transit or for access to a library, etc. Medical immunization records, this is a very, very important point. So we have a number of students who will be in programs that require certain immunization records to be on our file so that they can go out on their placements. So if you have any immunizations that obviously you've done in your home country, please ensure that you bring translated copy as well with you so that you don't have to do immunizations again for the same type of a disease or illness.
I actually have a question about the currency and what to bring. A lot of incoming students and their parents are asking me, they don't have a bank account yet in Canada, they don't have a credit card, so until they set up an account, how much money should they carry with them for the first month?
You know what, it's a double-sided question. The reason why I wouldn't feel comfortable giving you the exact amount is that, first of all, you want to be safe, so you don't want to carry too much cash with you in case your wallet gets stolen. Although Canadian culture and Canada is a very safe country, you still have to be very cautious as to how much money you
carry with you. And you could actually lose it. You're traveling, you're jet lagged.
We've had a few students who've misplaced it. I had actually one student who thought that he lost $1,000, and it turned out that he He left it in his room. So
Oh.
then he discovered it 2 months later, which was a great surprise.
Yeah.
But I would say $100 would probably be a good amount to have on you. That will take you to a taxi if you are in an emergency and you need to transport yourself wherever you are within the Greater Toronto area. And then you would leave some money, whether it's in your hotel room safe or whether it's in your room that you're renting. But as far as bringing cash, again, it depends on, are you planning to rent an apartment? Do you need first and last month's rent? Do you have access to a bank account here, maybe through your home debit card, right? So a lot of students bring cards that they're able to use in our bank machines for a certain fee. So again, it would be dependent on what the student situation is.
My recommendation though, however amount of cash you carry with you, try to put them in different areas. Don't put all your cash in your wallet, for example, in case you lose that. So try to put it in a different area, in your carry-on, in your pockets, in your wallet, so that you know, you're sleeping a lot in the airport. You're tired. You may buy a coffee and then just leave your wallet on the table. It happens. So just try to divide it around so that you have some sort of security. And when you're doing the currency exchange and bringing Canadian currency in, if you do bring $100 to use immediately, try to get it in small denominations as possible. 20s and 50s is okay, but I'm not sure if you can get easily accessible for $5 bills, but try to, so that you don't have to, break a $100 bill just to buy a bottle of water at the airport when you arrive, because you could be really thirsty.
And just to add to that point, if you're not familiar with Canadian currency, please send an email to international@sheridancollege.ca, and we have a great handout that shows all of the denominations of Canadian currency, so that before you arrive, you can familiarize yourself with what coins we have, what banknotes we have, so that you're visually prepared for the Canadian currency.
Right, that's a good idea.
So let's say you've packed, you have all your clothing. Remember that we have 4 seasons. So I would say pack intelligently. Now what I mean by that is, remember that you will be cold in the winter and be very hot in the summer. So I would suggest ensuring that you bring something for layers. So generally we put like a wicking. If you live in Canada for a while, you'll find that we dress in layers in the winter. So we'll have a wicking layer at the very close to our bodies, so that if we are sweating or if we're very cold, it will ensure that we keep warm, and then we put something warm over it, so it's a fleece sweater, and then something waterproof as a 3rd layer. So I would suggest those 3 layers you can always use throughout the year. So think before you pack, as you will need to ensure that you have something to wear for all 4 seasons.
Yeah. And if it's really hard to find warmer clothing in your country, if you live in a very hot country, that's okay. If you're arriving in the fall, the immediate thing that you probably need is a light jacket and a sweater. The rest you can probably get here. Right?
Yep. So when you arrive, I think we should move to the next slide, please. When you arrive, there's going to be a welcome booth at the Pearson Toronto Airport. This is a program that was organized by the City of Toronto to ensure that all of the international students feel welcome when they come to our city. So the program is running as of August the 15th until September the 8th. So as long as you are going to be arriving during that time period, then you will have somebody to welcome you right there at the airport. The program will be running from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. our time, and the booths will be available at both the Terminal 1 and Terminal 3. So the advantage to that booth is, first of all, you have somebody to welcome you. If you feel lost, if you're jet lagged, you're really not sure where to go to the booth, and they will be able to direct you on how to get to the campus that you will be going. Another advantage for those parents out there who may be part of this phone call or this webinar, there's going to be a free phone call as soon as you arrive at that welcome booth. So if your parents are worried whether you arrive safely in Canada, they will be able to know as soon as you land at our airport. You'll also get a goodie bag, so there will be a number of prizes that will be included in the goodie bag with discounts on attractions in the City of Toronto. You'll also be able to meet other international students who are not necessarily going to Sheridan, but going to other institutions within our Greater Toronto area. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of this welcome booth, and there's a link on the screen, so if you would like to find out more information, please click on it. Now, when you're at the Pearson Airport, You will have obviously 3 choices, or I should say actually 4 choices. We also have Skills Training Center that is one of our campuses. You will have 3 choices on where to go. So whether you're going to Brampton, which is our Davis campus, and you can see on the screen how far from the airport each one of our campuses is located. So Davis campus is a bit to the north. We have our Mississauga campus, which is right in the hub of Mississauga, so it's right downtown. Hazel McAllen campus, and then we also have Trafalgar campus in Oakville. So ensure that you are aware of I guess, the territory that our campuses are spread upon, and ensure that you understand that it may take you some time to get in between those campuses. And if you do have any relatives that are living close to one of the campuses, ensure that you're aware of the distance. Because we do find that some students are really not prepared as to the distance that they have to travel from their parents or from their relatives' home when they do arrive. So I would say, you know, go to Google Maps and maybe type in the address of our campus so that you get an idea of how far or how long it will take you to commute. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything to add about the campus locations?
Just be aware that your home campus is where you want to be living around. Later on we're going to talk about housing, but just because of the commute, and you don't really want to spend a lot of time taking the bus back and forth, especially if you have a gap in your day. If you, let's say you have a 8:30 class and then, you know, your next class is at 4, so you don't want to be going back and forth, especially in the winter. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Okay. So there are some things that you should remember before you arrive is email your study permit approval letter as soon as you have it. Why is that important? Well, if you would like to see your timetable, you would like to know what classes you will be enrolled in, we will require that paper in order to release your schedule. So again, please email your approval letter to studypermit@sheridancollege.ca, and please ensure it's the approval letter, not your entry visa. So there's a big difference between the entry visa and the approval letter. The entry visa is the page that takes up one of your pages in your passport that ensures that you're allowed to present yourself for entry to Canada. The study permit approval letter is the letter that you will present to the Canada Border Services agent upon entry into Canada so that you can get your study permit right there on the spot. Another thing to remember is check your laptop to see if it qualifies for your mobile program. Ensure that it has the appropriate programs that are required, the appropriate operating system. So in order to do that, please go to the website that's provided on the screen.
Right. That's really key, and I would also suggest not to overbuy software, because there are a lot of software that's offered as part of your tuition at Sheridan for free or at a really, really reduced cost. Mm-hmm. And also when it comes to technology, try to buy an adapter before you come here. If you're buying a lot of technology here, then you don't really need to do that. But you need to be able to use your laptops, and if you can't plug it to the wall, then you know, although you could get some here, but try to get it before you come, so you don't have any problems, at least in the first couple of days of arrival.
And just to add to that, electronics, if you're coming from a country that has a different voltage system as well as a different plug, I would suggest maybe holding off on buying electronics in your home country, mm-hmm. and perhaps buying them here in Canada. Mm-hmm. I know laptops generally have a converter on them, so you're just looking for the plug. But the rest of the electronics, if you're thinking of a hair dryer, or perhaps, as ladies know, hair dryers and things that beautify us, you may want to hold off on that. And there's certainly a number of stores within the vicinity of the campuses where you can find a lot of the goods that you may be looking for upon arrival. Timetable. So, as I mentioned earlier, in order for you to see your timetable or your schedule, you will need to provide to us your study permit approval letter. Now, you can check your timetable online through Access Sheridan, my student center, and we'll actually take you through some of the screenshots that you may be able to expect when you are looking to see your classes. Now, certain programs have assigned timetables and certain programs have custom timetables. So assigned tables are the ones where you log in and you get to see these are the classes that I'm enrolled in, and you really do not have much of a choice, meaning that all of the students in your class or in your program will be enrolling in the same courses during the same time periods, I would say. Now for custom timetables, and the programs are outlined right there on the screens, which are business, early childhood education. Now the business is all of the diploma programs, all of the undergraduate programs that we offer. For custom timetables, the students have a choice on selecting the times when those classes will be offered. So it's very important that you provide that study permit approval letter so that you get the best choices for the class times. Otherwise, you may be stuck with a time that you may not be as convenient for you. So if you're looking for early morning classes, you may be only offered an afternoon option if you provide your study permit approval letter a little too late. So if you have any questions on accessing your timetable, if there's some issue with the timetable you're not sure how to fix, this is the email address where you should send your inquiries. It's mytimetable@sheridancollege.ca.
Please feel free to ask any questions as we go along, and we'll do our best to answer them for you.
Yes, so if you are not sure where to access your timetable, we'll more or less show you where you will be able to access that information. So, Sheridan email. I'm hoping that all of you who are participating in this webinar have been able to receive our communication about this webinar through your Sheridan email. However, if for some reason you cannot recall how to access, or you need to tell maybe another friend of yours how to access your Sheridan email account, we're going to take you through those steps right now. So the easiest thing to do is to just go to our Sheridan website, which is www.sheridancollege.ca, and click on Access Sheridan link. Access Sheridan link is located right at the very top of the page. Now, Access Sheridan is where you will find the majority of the information that you may look for as a student, whether it's your timetable, your receipts, if you're looking for your receipts for tuition, ensuring that you've paid everything as agreed, or if you're looking for your invoice for the next semester, which will appear later on, this is exactly where you'll be going to, Access Sheridan. Now, you will need your username and password in order to log into any of the systems at Sheridan. So ensure that you have it either memorized or you have it somewhere safely written down. So once you put in your username and password, in order to access your Sheridan email account, you can see there that there's an option for Office 365, which is what our email address is for our Sheridan students. Now, also on that screen, you can see My Student Center at the very top at Sheridan Center. Under My Student Center, this is where you will find your timetable, this is where you will find your receipts for tuition, this is where you will find your invoice, this is where you will find your tax receipts. So when you're filing taxes in Canada, exactly where you will be able to find that form. You can change your address as well on My Student Center. So as soon as you arrive and as soon as you've been able to find accommodations, it's very, very important that you change your address. Why? First of all, if we ever need to get in touch with you, we won't be able to get in touch with you because we will have your home country address on file. Right. Second of all, if there is an emergency, we need to ensure that we have valid address on file. And thirdly, if let's say you get a transcript from Sheridan, it will always have your address that you have on file on it. So let's say you're presenting it to a potential employer, you're presenting it for your scholarship. It will look very odd that you have been studying here in Canada for a year, but you're still living overseas. So I would highly recommend that as soon as you arrive and you know your local address, please ensure that you change it.
And as well, your local phone number.
Oh, of course.
And your cell number.
And your email address. So if for some reason you have changed your emails, please ensure that you also update that as well. So once you've gone into the Sheridan email account, please enter your username and password. It's the same username and password you would have entered for Access Sheridan, but it still requires for you to enter it in once more. So on that bright topic, if you have any questions so far that we've covered about coming to Canada, please feel free to ask them and we'd be more than happy to address those for you. But now we'll move on to being in Canada. So the exciting part is about to start. You have now arrived, you've went to the welcome booth, you've got yourself acclimatized, and now you're thinking, well, what else needs to be done? So for some programs, we have a language assessment that is mandatory, which means that even though you have met your admission requirements for IELTS, TOEFL, or whatever other option, you've maybe completed an ESL program here in Canada, you will still need to do a language assessment for certain programs. And you can see the link right there on the website on the screen, where you can click and see which programs require the language assessment to be done. Now, language assessment will determine what level of English communications course you will be placed in. So for certain programs, there's a mandatory requirement for an essential communications course. However, if for some reason your English level is not at the level where it should be, they may place you into the Communications Foundation course. Now, this is the level which will prepare you to do very well in essential communications course. Now, if for some reason you are placed into the Communications Foundations, you will have an extra fee that will be associated with that course. Because as part of your tuition, you only have essential communications course fee included. So it's very, very important that if you do have language assessment scheduled, it will actually appear on your timetable to tell you that you have to take it. Please ensure that you register for the language assessment as soon as you arrive, or even before that. Otherwise, there is a limited number of spaces in each one of our classes. So if for some reason you're not able to take it the semester that you arrive, you may have trouble picking it up later on.
And I also want to add that it's not just for international students, the language assessment. It's actually for all students, Canadian or international, who are in these programs. And the point is to make sure that all students are able to effectively communicate at a college level and beyond that after graduation. So it's just for all students to write this test, despite getting high scores in IELTS or TOEFL or being a Canadian resident.
And I would also add that this particular course really prepares you on how to be successful in the working field. So when you start work, generally the expectation is you know how to put together a good email, you know how to put together great documents. So I think really preparing college students to succeed in the work environment, I think that's really the goal of that course.
Yeah, and no matter what program you're taking, once you graduate, you really need to communicate effectively in writing, especially. I mean, on any given day, most people that work full-time send how many emails on average, you would say?
I can't even
hundreds.
I'm a little worried when I get back to the office.
So if it's going to take you time to put a sentence together, you know, you're not going to be an effective employee. So this is something for all students' advantage.
Perfect. And I actually think we have a question from Lucy.
Lucy, okay.
So the question is,
sorry guys.
Got moved up to the.
All right. So I have received the tuition fees receipt from Sheridan. Does the receipt count as financial evidence?
So certainly the receipt will be part of your package. It will show the officer that you have already paid your fees. However, you need to ensure that you have enough financial support to support yourself throughout your living expenses while you're here in Canada. So the receipt will serve as proof that you've paid your tuition, but you need to ensure that you have at least $10,000 for the 1 year of academic studies to support yourself. So whether that's for your food or for your shelter, you need to ensure that you have maybe proof of a bank statement or a letter of support from your parents with a bank statement from them, in addition to the receipt. But receipt is certainly one thing that I would for sure include when you're arriving here in Canada to show to the officer at the border. Again, so as we've just answered the question for Luxie, please ensure that if there's anything that you're still not clear about, we're here to answer your questions. So whether it's at the end of our presentation or throughout, we'd be very happy to answer those for you. So some things to remember before you arrive, or actually once you arrive, I should say. Get your Sheridan One card as soon as you're able to. Why? Again, discount for transportation. Access to the library, access to the lab, access to really anything on campus. At any point in time, you may be asked to show proof that you are a Sheridan student. We want to ensure that our campuses are safe, and one way to do so is to make sure that anyone who is on our campus really belongs on our campus, meaning are they a student, are they staff, are they faculty? There really shouldn't be anyone from the outside, you know, other than prospective students on our campus. So one way to ensure that is to see the card, Sheridan One card. Submit your study permit to the International Center upon arrival. So remember when I've asked you to send us your approval letter for the study permit, The same thing goes for the study permit in itself. You need to ensure that you bring us a copy so that we can update your file. Now, you can do so by bringing your passport and we'll just scan it into your file, or you can just bring a photocopy already made of your study permit if you don't feel comfortable carrying your passport.
Yeah.
And that's actually one point that I should really emphasize is that as soon as you arrive, try to get an identification in Ontario, so in the province of Ontario, instead of carrying around your passport. So there is a card called Ontario Identification Card, and if you Google or you do a web search, you can find an identity card that you can apply for without having the need to apply for a driver's license. So if you're not planning to do any driving, there's still a way that you can get an identity card within the province of Ontario, which you will be able to present as your identification.
Yeah. I know in some countries, foreign nationals always have to walk around with their passport and prove that they are legitimately staying in that country. In Canada, you don't really have to do so. But the only time you need IDs is if you're asked for it. Let's say you're purchasing something and you have to be at a certain age. You show that ID. I want to ask you though, how do students get their one card?
So their one card?
Yeah.
So as soon as you arrive and you have your timetable and you've provided us with an approval letter, then all you have to do is go to the campus where you're registered in, whether it's in Learning Commons at the Trafalgar campus, at the IT desk. So look for an information technology desk, and there will be big signs during orientation period, get your one card here, get your one card here. And just a point, if you arrive here a little earlier than orientation, I would highly encourage you to go and get your one card before, because
the lineups.
Exactly. We've actually had a few students yesterday arrive already, and they got their one card and they were very, very happy. There was no lineup whatsoever. But if you do arrive during orientation period, it's another way to meet other students. So while you're in a lineup, talk to the students. This is really, remember that all of the students who are starting generally do not know one another. So this is a perfect time to make friends. Attend orientation session at your campus. So by now you should have all received a communication that shows different times and dates for orientation sessions depending on the campus where you will be attending and the faculty where you will be studying in. So orientation session registration, please ensure that you do so. So the email that would have gone out by now, there's a registration link. Please ensure that you fill it out and register for the session. Orientation session is going to be a very, very useful for you. Again, you will meet other international students that may be in your program or may be in another program. They may be from your country of citizenship and they may not. It will be your opportunity to meet international center staff. So if perhaps you met one of our international center staff in your country, then it will be your opportunity to reconnect again. You will meet all of our international student coordinators like myself. You will meet everyone, sometimes the faculty, the counseling department, other departments will come on board. You will find out information about your program. You will find out information about all of the student services that are available to you at no cost. And it's just a really great event. You get to hear music, you get to see what clubs are available, you get to see
there are interactive games. Basically, it's a way to get used to your campus, and there'll also be campus tours, so that when you have your schedule, you're not going to run around the first day of classes trying to figure out where your class is. So you can take advantage of all these offered to you. If you haven't received the invitation for the orientation, just go to Sheridan website, click on international link. And then at the last menu item on the left is the International Student Orientation dates and events. And you can actually register from there that you're coming.
And if you are someone who has a documented disability who requires accommodations, you can then register with accessibility services at the campus where you will be attending. Again, emphasizing update your contact information as soon as you arrive. And monitor your Sheridan email account. So Sheridan email account is the way we communicate with you. If you've requested a letter of attendance from our office, that's how we will tell you that your letter is ready. If we have an event, such as a workshop or we're going to Niagara Falls, that's how we will be communicating that information to you. If there's an important update that you need to be aware of, whether it's immigration or college issue, that's how you will get that information. If it's a professor who would like to let you know something about your lecture that's upcoming, again, Sheridan email account is the way that the staff and faculty will communicate with you. And if you don't want to log into 5 different email accounts, including your Sheridan email account, there's a way that you can forward your emails from your Sheridan email account to your main email that you use. I think we also have another question from Fernando.
Okay. Hello, I'm going to arrive in Canada about 1 week earlier than the start of my class. Is it necessary to schedule a day to visit and get to know the campus, or can I just show up? Actually show up. Depending on which campus, just go to the International Center office of that campus, and you know, feel free to ask questions, and we'll be helping you out. We'll also have student part-time students who are just finished their first year with Sheridan College, who will be able to actually help you get adjusted in those first couple of weeks of classes. So definitely drop by, look around the campus, get your schedule so that you know where your classes are, and get your one card and avoid all the lineups. That's a very good question.
That's great. I would just say that you're lucky enough that you're getting here early, because it won't be as hectic, and it will provide you with a more comfortable pace of getting to know the campus and the staff and faculty. And it'll give you a different feel. I find that in the beginning of the semester it's very crazy, but it's fun. So it makes you look forward to it. You get to see all these people in their t-shirts. So we have generally one t-shirt that the student services will wear, and it's yellow. So you will be able to see a number of yellow t-shirts walking around the campus.
Actually, I think they changed that color this year. It's going to be blue.
Blue, there.
But it says ask, got question, and on the back it is get answers. So there's a whole army of people who are there to help all new students, international and Canadians as well. And
I always emphasize, remember again, Sheridan is a community, and we're a number of departments that function all for the same purpose, is to help all of our students. So if you're ever not sure who to ask, just ask somebody who works here, and they'll be more than happy to provide you with an answer, or at least guide you to the correct department or the answer that you're looking for. So orientation schedule, as we mentioned earlier, it's very important that you attend it. It's really your opportunity to get to know Sheridan community. We have Davis campus scheduled for August 26th and 27th, and then we have Hazel McGillian for the 28th, and then Trafalgar campus for the 29th and 30th. You also have a link right there on the screen, which will provide you with registration instructions for each one of those campuses. Now for the Skills Testing Center, you will be scheduled at the Trafalgar campus. So remember that Skills Testing Center is located in Oakville as well, very close to our Trafalgar campus. So one of the main topics I would say that our students are concerned with when they arrive is accommodations. Where do I actually live? I mean, it's a pretty important topic. It's great that I will be studying at Sheridan, but where will I be spending my nights? Where will I be eating? So temporary accommodations is something that I would say a majority of our students do take advantage of, because it's very difficult to find an apartment or a room to rent when you're overseas. It's hard to communicate with a potential landlord stating, hey, I'm here in Nigeria and I'm looking for accommodation. They're going to go, well, come to Canada first and then we'll talk, right? So they want to ensure that they meet you face to face before they start discussing, you know, prices for the apartment or negotiating whatever the case may be.
Plus you want to have a physical feel for the place. So you want to look through the rooms. You want to see who your landlord may be. You want to see who your roommate may be. In a lot of cases, a few students rent a house together, or rent a basement apartment together, where they share common areas. So you want to make sure you don't have a problem, because you're gonna sign a lease, and you're gonna have a contract to be renting out for X amount of months, and you don't want to have to move in the middle of that to find somewhere else. So yes, get a temporary accommodation first for a week or less, and then, you know, look for places.
Certainly. So the links that you see on the screen are provided based on the campus. So these are the closest hotels available right next to the campus. So if for some reason you don't have any relatives or you have not found accommodations, then you will need to stay somewhere. And this is the closest place to the campus, which will allow you to see places that are in the vicinity of the campus once you wake up the next morning. So then you can go to all of the landlords and see what's available close to the campus where you will be registering in. So housing, what you should be aware of. Lease agreement is something that the majority of you will probably be signing. So it's a legal agreement that will be between the landlord and you as a renter. So the lease agreement will generally outline the terms of that agreement. So how much is the rent? How long is that agreement for? Generally it's about a year. Sometimes you can negotiate maybe a 6-month lease or less, depending on the negotiation that I guess takes place. But generally it's a 1-year lease where it will outline, you know, Mr. X is going to be paying $600 a month for the duration of this time period, and they will outline conditions. So, for example, some landlords may not be okay with having a cat in the house, or no smoking, or no visitors after a certain hour. Again, it's very, very important that you read the whole agreement, because once you sign it, it's legally binding, meaning that if you break that contract, there may be consequences, whether it's financial or otherwise. So it's very important that you do read it. And although it may seem overwhelming when you see a very, very long document, please read it before signing.
And also look for your rights. A landlord cannot just terminate you without a notice. And so you also have rights as well. So you want to look for that in the agreement.
Certainly, yeah. So another thing that you should be aware of for housing is first and last month rent is generally, I would say, a common practice. So when you do find a place where you would like to live, they will generally ask you for upfront payment of the first month and the last month. And then afterwards you will be just paying month by month. So ensure that you have those funds available for when you arrive, whether that's accessible through your bank card or whether you're going to be bringing that in cash. Also be aware that some of the landlords will ask you to do a credit check. What is a credit check? It's a way to check your credit history in Canada. Now, this is quite a puzzling statement considering you are just arriving to Canada. So chances are you don't have much of a credit history to speak of. What I would state is if you do come across a landlord that is adamant about getting a credit history checked on you and they will not allow you to move in, don't worry, there will be another landlord where you will be able to find a place. We have a number of international students that arrive every semester and they're successful in getting a housing placement. So I would say do not worry, just see if there's a way you can negotiate. Perhaps saying maybe I can pay an extra month of rent in advance, or I could put down a security deposit instead of my credit check, and just explain to them, I'm an international student, I just arrived. I do not have any credit history as of yet. So that's a recommendation. Now, when you are looking at housing options, please think of how much you're going to actually pay per month. How far is it from Sheridan? Really do look on a map, whether it's Google Maps or other web search, to see how many kilometers is it away from one of the campuses. And is there public transportation that you can easily take? So if it takes you 3 buses to get to Sheridan, this may not be the best option, even if it's very, very cheap, because you have to take into account how long will it take me to get to a class. So if you have a class starting at 8:30, if you have to leave by 6:30 in the morning, that $250 rent for a room will not be looking so great by the end of the semester. And then what you also have to remember is what is included in your rent. Some of the agreements will include electricity, some of them will include internet, some of them will include phones, some of them will include nothing other than the rent. So again, don't just look at the price, also look at what's included. And if you are going to be renting with a number of roommates, figure out a way that you're going to be splitting that cost. So if you're all paying for internet, split it up equally. Do you have anything to add about renting?
It's one of the harder things that you'll have to do in the first week that you come. And I would also suggest, perhaps if it's not too late, for at least the Davis campus to consider living on campus for your first year. That'll make things a whole lot easier. There's also homestay, so you can actually choose to stay with a family. And that is not such a bad idea, because you don't even have to buy furniture. You don't have to worry about a mattress. You don't have to worry about a desk and a table. You just, you just move in. And with homestay, there's home cooked meals a lot of times as well. So if residence is not an option, homestay may be a very good one, and it may be a very good one in order to get used to living in Canada. So that's all these listings of the different housing options is also available on our website under International Center. So just make sure you go through that and see what other options are there for you. And yeah.
And I would also add that we communicated with you via email, outlining all of the housing options available as well. So make sure that you look for our e-communications that we've sent out to you so far. Another option for accommodations, I would say, would be once you arrive, you should have access to what's called Slate, which is our virtual community. And the way you would access that virtual community would be, again, through Access Sheridan. And as soon as you log in, you should be able to scroll down and see the virtual community called Slate. Now, once you log in, there's a link to Sheridan International. And that virtual community is accessible to all international students here at Sheridan. So whether they're new or whether they're already continuing. So if they were here 2 years ago and they have another third year to complete, they will have access to that community. What's the advantage of it? Well, first of all, it allows you to communicate with those students where you come from. It allows you to communicate with students from your program. It allows you to perhaps see if there's any international students looking for roommates.
Yeah.
We've had a number of our international students find roommates using Slate. You'll also find information that we post from our workshops. So if for some reason you are unable to make it to one of our workshops, for example, U.S. entry visa, there's one of the workshops that we generally do, we will post our slides on the virtual community. And it also allows you to chat with one another. There's rooms for, I'm from India, and I'm from wherever you are. We have a number of students from more than 70 countries, so yeah. There's certainly a room for everybody.
Yeah. Although, we've said this in previous webinars, forgive me for those who've attended all of them, but I want to emphasize the fact that you're coming here for a great experience. So try not to just be friends with people from your own cultural backgrounds. Try to, diversify your pool of friends. Because it's going to help you a lot in terms of getting to know different cultures, different people, Canadian culture. So don't just be shy and stick to people from your own culture background. So when you're in Slate, don't just look for your own people.
Certainly. And I would also encourage students to join the clubs and organizations that we have on campus. We do have an international student association on campus. We have a number of clubs, cricket club, soccer club, drama club. There's always a number of clubs that start every year. So if there's not a club that you're interested in, you can actually start one on your own with a couple of friends of yours. So if you have a specific interest, whether it's martial arts or dancing, there's a club that you can organize right here on our campus. Yeah. So when you arrive here for orientation, you will see that there's going to be student union representatives, whether it's outside or inside one of our campuses, where they will actually provide you with information on how to sign up. And I believe we have another question from Eustace.
Okay. So, is that the same question?
No, I'm already in this one. No. So I'm already in Canada, and the question is, where are good places to meet people? Well, this is a fun question.
Really walking down the street now, seriously.
I would say a lot of festivals. For example, Mississauga. If you are going to be attending Mississauga campus, or even if you're going to be attending Brampton or Oakville, it's very easy to get to Mississauga. There's a square, Mississauga Square, I think it's called, Celebration Square.
Yes, Celebration Square.
And where they will have a number of events. So they will have free concerts. In the winter, they will have skating for free. They will have a number of cultural events throughout. So for Canada Day, they will do celebrations. So I would say festivals. It depends on the hobby. I would say the best way to meet people would be whether it's clubs. So if you both enjoy playing soccer or a badminton club, that's a way to meet other individuals. On campus, I would say when you're in classes, you will for sure meet some friends.
It will naturally happen, but We host monthly events for international students where we take them to various places like Niagara Falls, CN Tower. So every month there's a trip, okay? So that's a very good place to actually start. Not only do you make friends, but you go sightseeing, you go on short trips together. Also, definitely looking at all the student union offerings in terms of the student clubs and associations. That's another good place. And for sure, naturally in your classes. I mean, Sheridan classrooms, for the most part, are interactive rooms where you have paddle tables, basically round tables, that students sit around. And the professors can walk across all four walls, and there is boards to write notes on. So, and there's a lot of group work. So just by the nature of how the curriculum is structured, it makes it easier for you to connect with other students.
And another point that I would like to add is, when you arrive on campus, so if you're already here in Canada, come and visit one of our campuses and see whether there's peer mentors that we can connect you with. Mm-hmm. So a number of peer mentors work on our campuses, even in the summer, where they can provide you with information from a student's perspective. So if you're looking for places to hang out, you're not sure where to go, especially before classes start, you may want to connect with a peer mentor. And even if the International Center on the campus where you are attending does not have a peer mentor in place, there will be peer mentors working in other departments, and we all work as a team. So there's certainly a way that we can introduce you to a peer mentor that could assist you in finding places to visit while you're here. So thank you for that question. Accommodations, again, Sheridan residence, as Nemo mentioned earlier, is certainly a great way to connect to the campus, and we do have some spaces still available at our Davis campus. And for those students who are going to be attending the Mississauga campus, there's certainly a great way of commuting to Davis campus from our residence, or vice versa. Off-campus housing information, there's a number of websites that you can see on the screen. Again, you have to be very, very careful with providing information over the internet, meaning if somebody asks you to wire funds, please do not do so. There's some scammers out there, and you want to ensure that whoever you're communicating with about possible accommodations, that this is a legitimate landlord that's advertising. So I would say be cautious. So if something doesn't feel right, don't do it. You know, usually your intuition is certainly right. Never give out any financial information. So if somebody asks you, what is your bank account? Do not ever give it out. They should not be asking you for that information. If you sign up for an agreement, you will either give them checks or you will be providing them with cash, depending on their arrangement.
And if you are providing them with cash, please make sure you get receipts, because the landlord could have forgotten. It's a human factor. It happens. So if you're paying cash, get your receipts and keep them somewhere secure.
And I believe we have another question from Raphael.
Raphael. Hey, do you have any kind of meal plans for cafeteria food court services? Unfortunately, we don't have meal plans, but we have food courts and cafeterias. So you can budget yourself in that sense. There's also a lot of restaurants around each campus that you can also go and eat out if you want a change of atmosphere.
And some of the restaurants around the campuses will provide you with discounts if you show them your student ID card. So just be, and I would say that in the last couple of years, they've really expanded the food services offered on campuses. So we have a variety of different food options available to the students. Our students in Mississauga are very close to a mall, which has a very large food court. Our students at Davis and Trafalgar campus have a great cafeteria, which provides a number of food options right there in one room. Mm-hmm. And it's also a great way to get a job. We have a number of students who work for food services within the campus where they're registered. So if you're looking for a job come September, you may want to consider working for one of the food service providers within our campuses. Yeah. And I would just like to add that for the accommodations, again, as Nemo mentioned earlier, we do have opportunities for students to live with a family. Mm-hmm. And then we also do have off-campus housing. So again, make sure that you have temporary accommodations that you take advantage of when you arrive, so that you're not sitting on a bench for the rest of the night. But ensure that if you are looking for some help, you're not sure where to go, come to the International Center. At least we'll be able to direct you to some websites. And if you're really feeling lost, again, come to us. That's what we're here for. Our center specializes in helping international students. This is something that we love to do. So please don't ever feel that we're not happy to see you. We're always happy to see you. We always love to see questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question. If you're not sure where to start, somebody else have asked that question before. So please come and see either us as the staff or come to see our peer mentors. So we will have peer mentors as of September, and we're hoping to have assigned times where you can just drop in and ask any questions you may have from a student. And generally, majority of our peer mentors that work at the International Center are returning international students. So they've been where you have been. They've had to find accommodations. They've had to go through all of the struggles that international students generally go through in the beginning of the term. I think we have a question from Valeria. Oh, we have
several questions.
I'm impressed. Okay. I'm loving the questions.
All right. So if I want to find a job, where should I turn and where should I look first? Okay, well, first of all, you're only eligible to work on campus within your first 6 months. So in that sense, you can go to, there's a website posting where you could actually look through.
At jobs.sheridancollege.ca. So actually, if you go to the Career Center website, if you go to sheridancollege.ca and you click on Career Center, you will be able to see a job portal where the jobs that are generally geared towards Sheridan students are advertised, and sometimes on-campus jobs are advertised. However, not all the time. So what do? Before classes start, I would say target your prospective employers right there on campus. Have your resume ready before you arrive. Now, if you're not sure of the Canadian standard for the resumes, do a web search before you arrive so that you're not giving out information such as your date of birth or your country of citizenship. That is information that should not be included on a Canadian resume. I would state have your resume in hand and maybe go to, let's say, Career Center, and then also go to prospective employers. So if you go into the cafeteria, just say, may I speak to the manager? I'm interested in finding a job. Here's my resume, and I'm a student here. But
after the 6 months, you could then work off campus, but no more than 20 hours a week.
When school is in session. So if you are studying, then you will not be able to work more than 20 hours. And as soon as the 6 month of full-time studies finishes, then you at least should be eligible to apply for the work permit, for the off-campus work permit. Given that you have been studying at a satisfactory level, meaning that your grade point average has been high enough to be eligible for that work permit. But in the first 6 months, as Nima mentioned, it's only limited to on-campus employment. And then eventually, if you are going to be studying a co-op program, then you can also do co-op work terms as well. We have another question from Chunyang. Could I take lunch to campus if possible?
Oh, definitely.
This is a great question.
And it's a good way to actually budget.
Yes, speaking of our budget. There's certainly a lot of our students take lunches to school, including our staff. We all take lunches generally, we try to. There's microwaves on campus throughout in each one of our campuses, so you can heat it up
at the cafeteria.
And I would highly encourage you to take lunch to work. Take lunch to school so that you can budget. It's much cheaper, obviously, to make food at home, and I would highly encourage you to do that. And at this point in time, are there any other questions about anything that we've covered, or maybe something that was not covered that you're still feeling a little apprehensive about? Time is running out, meaning that you will be here shortly, and we're very much looking forward to seeing you. This is certainly one way to connect with you, but nothing beats one-to-one connection. Again, remember that the International Student Coordinators are here to help you, and they will be able to answer questions when you do arrive. We have another question from Lexi. No? Is the internship on or off camp? Sorry, is the internship one of off-campus jobs?
Okay, so you mean by internship you mean co-op? I'm assuming, right? A co-op is off campus, although sometimes you can find on-campus co-op placement. If you're talking about internship, which is not paid and it's a component of your program, then it's also similar to co-op, which could be on or off campus. But in most cases, internships and co-ops are done off campus by a private company or a public company that's not associated with Sheridan.
Mm-hmm. And then we have another question from Eustace. Are there any discounts on transportation as a student? There certainly are. Now, when you get your Sheridan One card, generally what will happen is they will even place a sticker that will allow you to get a discount on one of our public transportation providers, which is Go Transit, which is, I would say, the most expensive public transportation. However, it's the fastest, and it's a way to get to Toronto. It's a way to get around all of the campuses in a fast manner. They have very comfortable buses. They have very comfortable trains. The majority of the public transportation does have student discounts, with the exception of Oakville Transit. I would say they're the only ones that don't have a student discount as of yet. But you do take advantage of a student discount, and I have to say, when I was done with my studies, I was quite shocked as to the price difference between the student discount versus an adult. So take advantage of it and go to as many places as you can while you're a student.
There are a lot of places that actually offer student discounts, like movie theaters. You pay a lower cost if you're a student. So that's why it's another good reason to always have your student ID with you.
We have another question
from Vanit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so how will I be able to do volunteering work within my first 6 months in Canada?
Okay, volunteering, it would depend on the definition of volunteering. So if you're volunteering, for example, for one of the charitable organizations in Canada, such as United Way, or you're helping the elder, or you're helping the community, there's no limitations, meaning you can volunteer as much as you want. However, if you're going to be volunteering at a job where you're taking away a valuable opportunity from a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, or for that matter, for that type of volunteering you should really get paid for, meaning it's more like an internship, then that you have to be very careful about, as there is strict guidelines from Citizenship and Immigration Canada. And if you go to cic.gc.ca and you put in the search box, I believe, volunteering, it should provide you with the guidelines. So again, if you're going to be volunteering for a charitable organization, you would like to help the poor or you would like to help the children, that should not be an issue, whether it's in the first 6 months or even following. But again, if it's related to your studies or if it's more of an internship, you have to be very cautious about that. Any other questions at this point in time?
Okay, everybody. We want to thank you for attending today's webinar, and look forward to welcoming you on campus.
And I would just like to say a big thank you for joining us, and we love the questions. Again, if there are any other questions that we weren't able to answer, please email us. You have my email address that was provided to you as one of the email communications, and you also have international address, which is international@sheridancollege.ca. And otherwise, we will see you very, very soon at the orientation session. So thank you very much for joining us. See you soon.
Have a great evening, everybody.